Hey guys, what's up? Roger here. And guess what? Bambu has finally shipped my A1, finally. Even though it left California and immediately went to Canada for some reason. I don't know. So it will be here soon. So we've got to get on the ball and get the rack set up so I can move my X1C and put the A1 on a rack and get them off of my desk. That way people will quit complaining they hear a printer every time I post a video. All right, well, let's get to it. We'll figure out where we're going to put this rack in this tiny space. Putting this rack together. The weird part is it would fit right here. Now the problem is, let's see if I scoot that back. I scoot this down. It definitely fits right there. Like no obstruction, but it sticks out farther than the case. My brain's not going to allow that. I just can't see, my brain will not allow that. Okay, well, I got the rack put together. Now, I still have to get the wood for the top. I'm not putting a 3D printer on this, but they had pre-cut, they had pre-cut 4x4, I think it was. Anyway, I measured this, no, it was 2x2. I measured this, it was actually 22 inches from this to this. So I couldn't buy those pre-cuts that just drop in here because the pre-cuts are like 24. So I need to bring a saw from home to be able to cut them down. But basically what's going to happen is I'm going to buy a pre-cut piece of wood or buy some wood and cut to put on this top section. So basically from here for the divider, there'll be a piece here and then a separate piece over there. And this keeps the printers isolated from each other. And then we'll just put some insulation, like some foam insulation down through here for the wood to sit on top of. And that just helps isolate the two printers. Because this is a smaller rack, it will certainly get shaken around. Like, I don't know, I mean, I guess maybe not, because it's pretty sturdy. I was actually shocked. But I thought if I had to, I would actually attach it to the wall, but it's actually a lot more sturdy than I thought it would be. So we'll see. But again, I don't think I can put it here because it sticks out from the wall more than that shelf does. And that's messing with my brain. I can't do that. So maybe I can't put it there because the P-tack's going to blow. So I feel like I'm either moving this one or this one of these two over here. And then either putting this way or this way, one of the two. I'm going to take some measurements and I'll see which one works. All right, so this is the final, I think the final. But I kept the display case. I moved the filament case from here, or actually it was over there, and I moved it to here. And then I moved that case that was on this wall to there. And then the shelf is here. Now I still have to get wood for this shelf. Typically, I see people do separate pieces. So I've got a couple choices. Right now where I have the shelf height set, my AMS could not be on top of my X1 because I would be trying to reach for the top to change filament. So if I can lower the shelves and keep the AMS on top, or I can offset the AMS and just put it in between the A1 and the X1C and just put the AMS in the middle somewhere, which I may opt to do. But then I would have to make sure I have enough wood to span the entire top. So at Home Depot, they have like these 24 by 24 pieces, and I could actually cut one of them down to 22, and then that would fit right here. So 22 by 24, and then another one 22 by 24, and that would be for the two printers. But then there's some gap between them, and so that would make it kind of weird because, you know, then the AMS would be maybe setting on some wood and maybe setting on a rack. Like, I would rather wood the whole thing, but then that would require me to buy a 4x8 sheet, I believe, to accommodate that. So I don't know, I've got some deciding to do. Technically I could just lower this down some more, And I think if I lowered it about 4 more inches, then it would put the AMS on top at a comfortable height, I believe. So I've got some deciding to do as far as that's concerned. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do, but that is the thought currently. So back here we moved this. So there's the printer, my NAS, and then my dirty PC. Yes, I do have a PC. I keep a PC around just to remind me that, you know, why I switched to the Mac. You know, it's just a constant reminder. What is this? Oh, geez. Bambu locked me out of my printer. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so my tripods are back here, kind of hidden by the... Rewind. My tripods are right here, kind of hidden back behind the restroom. And I can still get access to the microwave if need be. All right, now the project continues. I went up to Home Depot and I purchased this plywood, and my original thought was to set it down in the rail, right? So I actually had it cut off at like 22 to set down in the rail. And then the more I thought about that, the more I didn't like that idea. And I thought if these thin lips were to flex, my printer would hit the ground. I actually reached out to Samcraft and appreciate him getting back to me about what he did. And what he did was he bought the 24-inch wood and then he just set it on top, apparently like this. And I don't know, I didn't ask him if he actually secured it in place. He did say that he put some weather stripping down on the rail. It kind of creates some isolation between, yeah, because even though these things are super sturdy, they're also super janky at the same time. My concern even, I guess if it shifted, you can see it would drop down on the rail. Or if it shifted this way, it would drop down in the rail. And I don't know that with the weight of the printer on top of it, it's really going to shift that much. I thought about doing like a TPU insert in here at about the same height as this to just kind of fill this gap actually. But what that would also do, give more the plywood more surface contact. But also, TPU would act more like give it a bit more traction than this would. I don't know that any of those isolation tactics that I've seen, which is like using weather stripping and different kinds of foam, I really don't know how well those actually translate to isolating that stuff. And then if you look at somebody like Dancing 3D Prints, he literally has the wire racks still on, and he just has like thick cardboard on top, and that's how he supports his A1s. So who knows what's best for who, but I think this is the route I'm going to go. All right, the X1C is in its place, and that, as you can see by that print, I decided to print out these TPU spacers, and as you can see, it's pretty much fully compressed them, but there certainly is some airspace between the levels. And basically, I guess the intent there was to create some, like a floating deck situation, which for the most part I think worked out all right. Yeah, it still is somewhat compressible, so it is slightly floating, but the plywood holds on to the TPU much better than it did this. So that was my concern, is everything shifting around. So the TPU is actually attached to this with double-sided tape, but then the plywood is actually just sitting on top of the TPU, and it is not moving. So I've got my filament dryer over here, no cable management or anything. I'm just over here doing the recalibration since I moved it to make sure that, you know, I'm not going to have any issues dealing with the filament. is, oh, it's a little high, but it's manageable. I can reach up there and load the filament and unload the filament. But at some point, maybe I take the AMS off and put it down here. I'm not sure. For the most part, I like the setup. If I would have just dropped this down about 4 more inches, that would have been a non-issue. But I still wanted to be able to have more printers on this lower shelf and them not basically be on the floor. So this was about as low as I wanted to go. I went ahead and printed out some end caps for these extrusions. You can see there in the back too. Basically because, man, these things are sharp. They are really kind of sharp. So I went ahead and printed off some end caps and capped those all off. This one actually created a mount. This is my tripod. Let me see if it'll even... Yeah, so this is out of my tripod. That is this little Manfrotto right here. And I basically just recreated that geometry down in there so I could mount this, and then it's tight enough that you can see it's an effort to move it up and down, but it's a nice camera mount and it's built right into the frame. So only thing I've got to do, because I kind of set this up to collapse under what I assumed it would collapse under the weight, I think if I ran those same ones over here on the A1, they would not collapse as much. And for the sake of things looking even, I'm just going to reduce this was about 6% infill, which allowed it to crush pretty easily. I think I might have to reduce that infill amount even more for that to get that same level of compression with the X1. But we'll see. We'll see. Thus far, I'm pretty happy. I think things have turned out way better than I expected them to, even though it is a bit of a mess still. You can see there's absolutely no wasted space. Let's just say that. There's no wasted space. All right, guys. Well, that's it for the day. Our upgrades are all done. I'm using my new camera mount right now. As you can see, the X1 is right here, right beside me. I don't know if I'll be able to use it to do time lapse with the A1, because when I was doing the calibrations on the X1C, it was vibrating things just a tad. So I'm not really sure that that's going to work out for time lapse, but we'll give it a shot. We'll see what happens. If you haven't subscribed yet, right here, TenMileCreations, click that little subscribe button. I don't even know if there's a bell anymore. Is there a bell you can click to get reminders? Maybe. If there's a bell, click that thing too. That way you can follow along as I'm doing this wild thing where I'm trying to create a business out of a 3D printer and just printing stuff in plastic. It seems to be working out so far. We just crossed over 1,600 subscribers. I appreciate that a ton, guys. It means a ton. And so when the A1 gets here, I'm going to be talking specifically about some things and why I think the A1 is the best 3D printer, at least from the Bambu lineup, maybe even period, for a startup 3D print business. All right, guys. Till then, I'm out of here. Later.